Diego to Los Angeles. I drove a client from Los Angeles to San Diego for $500. 500. That is the same rate that Thomas, the person that I just visited and had lunch with in San Diego, who has his own limousine company, also started with Uber. I also joined Paul, and the three of us had a great lunch in San Diego on Shelter Island, and we were talking about this topic. How do I get a $500 trip from LA to San Diego? I welcome you all. I'll give everyone a shout out. I have about another hour to LAX, and I have the next client for $200. So the last few hours, it's a $700 day, and I have one more tonight. It's going to be very close to $1,000 day. How do you get there, right? And I'm going to show you the steps, 4 easy steps. Everyone can do it. I did it. Thomas did it. Hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of other drivers that I've coached over the last 8 years have done it. You can do it, right? And as far as return on investment, you know, I'm sure other people have tried out different business models. I've done real estate. I've done commercial real estate. Nothing comes close to this business when it comes to return on investment. Meaning, what am I putting in to get the company going? How quickly am I going to get my money back? And at what point will I start making a profit, seeing cash? Best model by far. Cherry Pickers Deluxe in the house. Shout out. Now, the gentleman that I just had lunch with in San Diego, shout out to them. Again, I'll mention the names, Thomas and Paul. Thomas uses the very same technique that I do. He'll show a client, for example, we looked up how much is it from San Diego to Los Angeles in an Uber SUV. $773. $773. If I can show a client that I'm doing that for $500, I have just saved that individual $250, $270. And $500 is a lot of money, my friends, for 2.5 hours work, right? Granted, dead miles coming back, so you got to look at it as a 5-hour trip. But in this case, I'm not looking at it as dead miles, because I had a fabulous lunch with friends that I met way back in the rideshare business. So, can you do this? Absolutely. How do you do this? Let me show you, right? You're starting off in rideshare. You could have started off, you know, by trying out the business on Uber and Lyft, let's say in a Toyota Prius. Back in the day, I proved to myself, if I go to the auction, I bought a Prius for about $6,000, a used one. I drove UberX for a while. At that time, they were still paying well. Put in some big hours. I knew that I wasn't going to be stuck on UberX. I knew that my friends had fleets, had limo companies. I saw their numbers. They shared their numbers with me. And this is going way back, 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And I said to myself, how do you learn the business? Well, you start from the very bottom, right? Like in any business, you learn from street level, from the ground level up, right? You would take the elevator up, but you learn all the ins and outs at the bottom. And I think the best way to do that really is with UberX. And back in the day, they paid fairly well. Today, it's questionable how much money you make on UberX and Lyft regular. But once you're out there, again, we talked about this in length in today's lunch. All three people, myself and the two others, all very successful in our own ways. We all came from the rideshare industry, right? And when you're out there carting people from A to B, B to C, 5-hour shift, 10-hour shift, doesn't matter. You're jumping around from Uber app to the Lyft app. You're getting to know your city. You're getting to know your surroundings. You know where to make money and what parts of town. You start identifying these patterns. I spoke about this 7-8 years ago. When should I drive? Where should I drive? And once you've got that down and you've put a little bit of money aside, most of the people back then and even now would then say, okay, what's the next step? Well, the next step you could take up is, for example, why don't I transition risk, very low risk, very, very low risk from UberX to Uber XL. So the difference would be, for example, from going from a Prius to a Toyota Sienna. Siennas have been around forever, Priuses have been around forever, both brilliant cars, both will get you a lot of miles. Both you can pick up very, very inexpensively at auctions, right? Which brings me to one of the next points. A lot of people say, well, you know, too risky, too costly. No, if you hook up with someone who knows how to buy at a dealer auction for half the price, right? You're not confronted with those 5, 6, 7 year financing plans with high interest rates where the car's going to cost you a fortune, right? But if you're putting in the hours on UberX or XL and you're saving up the money, you're putting the money aside, and then you make an aggressive move at an auction and you go out, you know, step it up from X to XL, or you get yourself a used Suburban, something that will at least give you 4 years, 3 to 4 years on the Uber SUV or on the Uber Black or on the Uber Lux platform. Now in my course, the link is below at Gig Rocket, the private chauffeur course, which includes the fleet course. It explains everything. But ladies and gentlemen, the starting point is rideshare, right? The common denominator here is rideshare, because rideshare really is the stepping stone, if you follow my steps, to financial freedom, right? You want to quickly get from an UberX to an XL to the higher echelons. You want to quickly get your licensing for that state. For example, I always use California as an example. You get the TCP license, which means I open my LLC, a company, right, limited liability corporation, and I get the TCP papers, the transport charter permit. Every state has their certification, their licensing. California, that'll set you back about $1,200. Then I have the car that I bought at the auction. Now I have the licensing, the certification, and the company set up. What am I missing? Well, the next big thing, the next thing I'm missing is my commercial insurance. And that is by far the most expensive cost in this business. That is your commercial insurance. Because no matter how many cars you end up adding, which that later we'll talk about, that becomes your fleet, the commercial insurance is a big one and cannot be underestimated. Obviously, the more cars you are stacking on your fleet account later, the less and less your commercial insurance per vehicle turns out. But it's that first car that is very, very expensive. You already see what a regular car insurance costs you. Stepping it up to rideshare insurance, that is a big, big jump money-wise monthly. And then from rideshare insurance to commercial insurance is a massive leap. That's your biggest cost factor right there. Everything else that comes along with the car, whether it's oil changes, tire changes, maintenance, maybe a transmission down the line, those are all given. Doesn't matter what car you drive, right? So starting off in rideshare, learning all the ins and outs about the business, about your city, maybe playing it safe, transitioning up to XL. Now I've mastered XL. Paul Figueroa, probably one of the best in the business in XL, makes a ton of money, knows when to drive, where to drive, how to cherry pick, right? But then, you can stay in that XL, or you can say to yourself, hey, I'm going to go out now and go to the very top. And if you decide to make that leap to the top, which means I'm going to go and invest in a big SUV, could even be a Toyota Sequoia or a Suburban or a Cadillac. Doesn't have to be a Cadillac. But now what you're doing is you're playing in three arenas. You're in the Uber and Lyft arena on multiple categories. We'll probably cover 5 categories with that car, let's say with a Cadillac. You now spent the money on getting your company set up, your LLC. You spent the money on getting your state licensing, your TCP, and you've signed a contract, maybe 3 months at a time for commercial insurance. That'll set you back big time, right? And we're talking several $100s per month, in and around $500 to $1,000 a month for the commercial insurance. Why? Because you're the company, you're transporting passengers. That's one of Uber and Lyft's biggest expense is the insurance, right? It'll be your biggest expense if you are a private driver. Now, going in as a private driver, in that course, which is 300 minutes, you learn all the ins and outs. I would say the most important part of that training on the private driver fleet course is, how do I get private clients? How do I build out my business? How do I manage myself once I've transitioned from X to XL to the upper echelon, Lux or Black? How do I manage myself? But how do I keep myself busy, right? And if you are not willing to engage with your Uber and Lyft clients and try and transition them out of rideshare as a rideshare rider into your private company, right, you don't really stand a chance, right? You're an independent contractor. You can operate independently. You can hand out your business cards. You can do a soft sale in a car and try and convince an Uber rider, hey, if you're stuck somewhere, here's my business card, use me in the future. Now, at this point, there are many people watching and say, well, that's illegal to take Uber's clients. Yes and no, right? Look, if you get caught in the act and an Uber executive is in your car and you try to solicit them, I'm sure you'll get kicked off the platform. But if you are not willing to take the risk, if you are not willing to explore what's out there, then this business is simply not for you. Then don't even do it, right? But if you're sick and tired of the rideshare business or just grinding the hours and you're putting in massive hours every week, and you know that there's something better out there, right? Then again, I would encourage you to make the leap from X to XL to maybe Lux or SUV. If you do go and make the investment into an expensive car, if you get it obviously at the auction for a fraction of the price, then a must, this is also part of the course, is that you go and get your state license, right? So that you can legally operate, legally drive kids, legally pick up and drop off people at airports, etc. You're fully legal to be a driver for hire, right? You can even operate a party bus, right? Once you have that licensing. Now, as a private driver, there's nothing better, right? And a private driver always has to give the very, very best service, right? This is all about, how does your car look? What do you have on board? Are you a great communicator? Do you have a personality? Are you a networker? Are you willing to grow your business? Do you know how to set your rates? Do you know how to convince an Uber rider to come on board with you and try you out? Do you know how to turn those short-term Uber and Lyft riders into long-term private clients? I teach you everything in the course. And if you're happy in that arena, right, and I did this for a couple of years, then you will quickly see if you're good in this game, if you're reliable, if you're punctual, everything we cover in the course, then It's just referral after referral after referral after referral after referral. Especially if you are willing to drive a group of 15, 16-year-old kids to parties and that, communicate with the parents, make yourself a good name transporting children. You will grow your business within a year. It'll just double, double, double each year, right? But then comes a point where you have so many bookings and being a one-man show is a little bit overwhelming. Now you got to ask yourself, how do I duplicate what I am doing and replicate that model and start building it out? And I got to say, the best feature, and you can even run this business from your app, is the Uber Fleet program. The Uber Fleet app has been modified, improved. Obviously the pay has gotten less and less for the drivers, right? But the actual Uber Fleet program, which you can easily sign up for, you know, if you have an Excel vehicle or maybe even a better car than that, it's very, very easy to get the fleet program going. And I'll also leave you a link after the video which takes you to the Uber Fleet program. In my eyes, it's the best thing that Uber has, right, in the entire company, and that's the Uber Fleet program, because it really helps you transition from a rideshare driver to, let's say, to an individual private driver, to someone who's now saying, okay, I want to start my own fleet. I'm not happy just by myself. I want to duplicate, replicate what I am doing and make real money. Now, you know what it takes to be a 5-star driver. The people that you bring into your portfolio or that you stack in your Uber Fleet program, right? Obviously, you'd have to have, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, right up to 50, 100 cars you can have stacked in your fleet. And now you assign the best of the best drivers to those vehicles in that fleet account. I go into great length in the course, in the private chauffeur, private driver fleet course, which is available at Gig Rocket. The link is below. I explain how to get your cars in, you know, buying the right way at an auction, and then finding the right drivers, right? And that means you're putting drivers through a series of interviews. That means you are picking the best of the best, high rated, let's say 4.96, 4.97 to 5.0 drivers. Drivers that have done at least a minimum of 1,000 trips on the Uber and Lyft platform combined in, let's say, the SUV or XL category. Those are your ideal candidates to stack in your Uber Fleet program. Now you start duplicating the formula. You got your second car going. I call up the insurance, hey, add this Suburban or this Cadillac and this driver to my insurance. I show you how to set up the contracts with those drivers. Very important, right? Because you got to treat your driver in your fleet just like a person walking into Enterprise or Avis, right? They are basically renting or leasing the vehicle for you, minimum of a week. You never sign any long-term contracts. You never sign 12-month contracts. You don't sign 6-month contracts with them. Even if they want to, you don't. This is really a week-by-week business. If they have proven themselves after 4 weeks, believe me, they will be with you for a long, long time, unless they go out and get their own money and duplicate what you are doing, right? And anybody that wants to do that, any one of your fleet drivers, help them. I've helped so many drivers that have driven for me in a fleet go and start their own business, right? Why not, right? Why not? They've been loyal to you. They've made you a lot of money. You've made them a lot of money. They have leased the vehicle from you. for a long period of time, why shouldn't I help him or her be successful? Now, when you are signed up on the Uber Fleet program, the management tools that they have, I would say would come close to what Avis and Enterprise have, right? You get to see, where are my drivers on the grid, on the map? You know, are they in safe areas? You are monitoring their speed and their driving habits through through a tracker system in your car, like T-Mobile or you know exactly where your driver is. I don't allow my drivers to go over the border to Vegas or to Tijuana or to any of those places. No, they have to operate within specific counties: Los Angeles, Orange County, Inland Empire. They can go as far as Santa Barbara County. But I'm not leasing out a vehicle to a driver who's in my fleet program, who wants to do a lot of private trips and visit his parents up in San Francisco. Ain't happening. You're not putting miles on my car. I'm also not dealing with a driver, even though they're 4.98 rated, who's constantly speeding at night. Maybe after they're done working, they're driving 85, 90 miles an hour. Accident waiting to happen. I won't deal with them. So you have to box those people and set the perimeters in your contract with them, explain it in great detail in that course, right? And you will see that once you have your second driver, you're the first driver on your fleet account, you have a second driver with a contract set up, you will now see how easy it is to get number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 10 going. Very, very simple, because you already know the formula. And all the tools are in that fleet account, right? So you know how to buy. If not, we teach you that in the course. You know how to pick the best drivers. We teach you that in the course. You know how to manage those drivers. You know how to set up the contract with those drivers. Now, Uber, unlike Lyft, they do a wonderful thing with the Uber fleet account, and that is, if your driver who's assigned to one of your cars in your fleet account, right, is making $2,500 a week, and they owe you $600 for the weekly rental, you can deduct that $600 out of the $2,500, because the entire amount is wired into your account, into your company account. You then pay the driver the difference. You know, $2,500 less $600 for the weekly lease, $1,900. And they will check in with you. With me, they check in on Tuesdays. They pick up their check. Gives me a quick chance to assess, how's the car doing? Is it up for anything? Do we need to do an oil change? How are the tires? It's a quick check-in, check-out with the driver, and off they go again, right? No headaches. You learn how to become extremely efficient and fast at this exercise. Now, when the driver is paying you $600 for a used SUV per week, do the math, right? Some people charge $700, but let's keep it at $600. So you're generating on that car 4 times $600, $2,400 a month from that used Suburban, right? Which might be good for 4 or 5 years on the fleet program. But here's the thing, and this is, I think, what my course, this is why my course sets itself apart from any other course out there. It's not that you're just showing an individual how to transition from rideshare to private driver to starting your own fleet. And then once you have your own fleet, we'll call it Uber fleet, you can then start working out, how do I now operate this as a limousine company, as a whole separate identity with multiple things going on, right? Because when you start teaching your drivers who are in your fleet account, and usually these people are always hooked up with Uber and Lyft, they're doing both, right? And I would highly encourage you only to take people into your fleet program that do drive on both. Because if for some reason they get deactivated on one of those platforms, then it's up to them. Do they still want to keep on taking your car at $600 per week if they're only now driving on Lyft or on Uber? It could mean that they hand the car back to you because they're just not making ends meet. But a highly rated driver who's done over 1,000 trips, who's on both platforms, Uber and Lyft, is an ideal candidate for your Uber fleet program. Once you have saturated your fleet, and usually if you do the math here, if you're earning $2,400 a month with, let's say, a Suburban, right? 12 months, that's 10 times 2,400, that's 24,000 plus 4,800. You're looking at about $28,000 that your vehicle has generated in the first year, right? That does not include maintenance and expenses and tires. That's purely what you have generated with this used vehicle 1 year on your platform. I will guarantee you that a half a year later, when you're in your 18th month, right, and your car has already generated $40,000, you are already stepping into your profit margin. Now you're beyond break even. The car's paid itself back after 18 months, 1.5 years. You are now starting to make money. You show me one business out there where you get a return on investment and ROI after 1.5 years. No ways, nothing, right? So if you're running your business correctly, almost like an Avis or an Enterprise, you really like to use Enterprise because I think Enterprise is the most professional of the lot. I think Hertz are a bunch of scammers. Avis I don't think of highly either. But Enterprise, you could walk into an Enterprise and take a contract. You know, you could be renting a little $60 car out per day. You could literally take that same contract and turn that into your contract for your fleet driver. Now, when you have enough fleet drivers in your portfolio and you building out your own clientele, they are building out their own clientele, some faster than others, you are now moving forward like a syndicate of drivers, right? Now you can say, hey, I have a double booking, I have a triple booking. Who do I assign my double booking to? And one of your drivers leasing in your fleet program might be an aggressive marketer. He or she is building out their private clientele. You are showing them how you did it. You learned it from the course. You followed the course. You learned exactly how to build your clientele. You are now teaching your drivers in your fleet program who are driving under commercial insurance and commercial plates in the state of, let's say, California. You are showing them now how to do the exact same thing that you learned, right, as a private driver. Help them build out their private clientele to the point where they might be doing 60, 70, 80% private clientele and only have to jump onto Uber and Lyft and do rideshare just so that you can keep your fleet program going. Just do the bare minimum on rideshare, but you're starting to show them ways how to build out their private clientele. Now, if they have double bookings or triple bookings, they can then pass that on to other drivers in that syndicate in your fleet. And a referral from one driver to the other is always worth 20, 30%. So you're all earning together as a fleet. You are making most of the money. You are the person who set up the fleet. You might have 10 cars, right? 10 cars times $2,400 a month. You know, you're generating $24,000 of income for your company, obviously less all your expenses. And you are just carrying on, maybe buying further cars, buying more cars, adding to your fleet to maybe to a point where it just gets too much. I've been at that point a few times. Downsized in the pandemic, started buying more cars, aggressively growing after the pandemic, right? But you sort of reach your threshold. You know, how many people do I want to manage? How many cars do I want to have in your fleet, right? These are only questions that you can answer. One of the people that took my course many years ago has over 150 cars driving in Arizona in his fleet. 150 cars. That is crazy money, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy money. Now, every car has a shelf life, 4 or 5 years, they're done. These drivers are putting on big miles. You can then, maybe high miles, 220, 250,000 miles, you can try and go out, sell it on Craigslist or Marketplace, get some of your monies back. But that's been a true workhorse in your fleet and in your limo company. So when I say starting off in rideshare, transitioning, taking the course, learning how to become a private driver, building out your private clientele, doing a combination of Uber and Lyft, rideshare, and private trips as the second step. Third step, opening up your fleet account, maybe buying your second or third car, creating these contracts, creating another entirely new income source, a whole new revenue line as a fleet operator. And then you say to yourself, hey, I've got 5 or 10 cars. Let me turn this into a fully blown limousine company. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is like my 8-9 year journey. Really looking at other successful people. How did they do it? How did they start? Which cars made them the most money? Obviously, if you're going and renting or leasing out a Prius to a driver week by week and you're getting, let's say, $250 versus you're getting $600 for an SUV, you're doing double the amount of work, right? So I later on started phasing out the little cars, the Nissan Leafs, the Priuses, and I concentrated on the bigger cars, on the XL and on the SUVs. Those made me the most money. Always knowing that my formula always paid itself out after 18 months. I got the money back on that vehicle. So we briefly touched on this at lunch today. Thomas is a 3-man operation. He works out of San Diego. He has a boatload of very good private clients. He's making really good money. And he hovers between 1 to 3 drivers. If he needs 2 backup drivers, they will come in. If I'm moving big groups and I need multiple cars, I will bring in other drivers. So the flexibility, of maybe 5 to 15 people is just literally knowing 2 extra drivers. 5 in your car, 5 in his car, 5 in the next car, and then you're already moving 15 people. Or maybe you get yourself a party bus, right? So there's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of excitement in this game. There's a lot of money to be made. But what I'm trying to convey to every rideshare driver out there worldwide, if you are in a big city, whether it's Chicago, San Francisco, New York, LA, Houston, London, Sydney, doesn't matter where you are, in any big city, you can easily start off as a rideshare driver, transition to become a private driver with the right licensing, even in London, even in Sydney, anywhere in the world, Toronto. You can then get your fleet program going. Excellent way to manage it is through the Uber fleet program, and then you can transition into your own limo company. Today, in my private portfolio, I have 350 clients, and they'll call all the time, right? Tonight, I'm at the airport driving Paul Pierce and his kids tonight. On the way down to San Diego, I drove a CEO for $500, right? Tonight's going to take me from LAX to Calabasas. It's going to take me about 40 minutes, another $200 plus trip. So $500 to $2,500 a day is completely possible. After 1 to 2 years in this game. But you got to start somewhere. And if you are a zero risk type of person, this is obviously not for you. If you are not willing, if you're not the type of person who is willing to transition from a Prius to, let's say, a Toyota Sienna minivan to a Suburban, this is not your business, right? But the one thing I can tell you is that my courses, my private driver, my private limo course, where you also get the fleet course, right? Because that's the natural progression after a private driver is to become a fleet owner. I have sold thousands of these courses worldwide. I have never ever, and I can tell you this, look you straight in the eye, I have never ever had someone come back and say, sorry, I could not put this course to good use. Every single person in some way went on becoming either a private driver or a fleet owner or a big limousine company owner, right? And that truly makes me feel good, because if my formula works and I can hand it to you and you can duplicate it, and then you can even maybe grow it into something big, into a company and have financial freedom where you are just sitting back and managing your drivers. At most, the most work you're really doing is going to an auction and purchasing a car, right? Because the drivers will even take it down to the tire shop for you and get the tires changed or get the oil changed. You don't even have to worry about that. So which business, show me a business where I can learn the ins and outs, starting in rideshare, transition to opening up a fleet, and then just kick back. And then all I have to do is really know how to buy cars, not overpay for cars. It's not the smartest idea if you want to start in rideshare, to go out and buy a brand new Prius or a brand new Highlander or a brand new Camry, and you financing that on today's interest rates for 5-6 years. You're not making money. You got to know how to purchase. Now, in this course, there are 21 modules for 300 minutes. And then there's the fleet component. How do you manage the fleet? How do you build out the fleet? How do you set up the fleet? How do you get the drivers? How do you manage the drivers? How do you grow your fleet, right? It's all explained, and the fee is $69. So what I'm trying to do in this live feed, we're almost on 37 minutes, really haven't given many shout outs, but I'm trying to get as much information to you as possible and show you, hey, if you are sick and tired of rideshare, if you know you have it in you to take that next step. Thank you so much. Wesley in the house, throwing down $1.99. I want to learn how to become a private driver. And let me put Wesley, let me put a code out there for you, HELP20, HELP20, HELP20. That code will get you 20% off. And Wesley, thank you for the $2 donation. Once you have completed the course, Wesley, whoever completes the course, you then set up a private call with me. I spend about 30 to 40 minutes in that private call. That's all included in the $69. And we go over your questions. Oh, I did the course and I have a question about this. I have a question about this. How do I do this? So all the areas that are still like gray zones to you, we explain them until you get them, because there's not a scenario that I haven't seen in the last 8-9 years. Dealing with so many drivers, with Uber and Lyft constantly changing the model. The fleet model has really stayed robust. It's a certain type of clientele, Wesley. They are not the type of people that are going to cause too much chaos in your car. These are not college kids. These are people that have money, right? And a combination of rideshare and private trips. And if you want to add your fleet down the line, great. That's where the real crazy money is. But even as a private driver, I'm never happy today if I make under $500. I'm not happy. If I am making under $500 in a day, I'm not happy. On a day like today, it's $1,000 day, I'm happy. There are many weeks between 4, 12 and 15,000, even a week, right? I've had days where have maybe made like 13, 14 grand with private trips. You do one Coachella weekend with private clients, and then you get booked out by the studios for a day, and then you have a couple of, and you're already over the $10,000 mark. Don't tell me it cannot be done. So, you know, people in the rideshare business are striving for the 2K club, 3K club. You know, many times I've hit 10K in 1 week, many times. Yeah, am I tired? Did I put in big hours? Absolutely. But was the money worth it? 100%. Were all the hours with all those clients? Some weeks are crazy, my friends. Crazy, especially when the holidays. There are days I work 21 hours from 4 a.m. in the morning till, you know, late at night. It happens. I'll go from 4 a.m. in the morning till 12 o'clock at night. It happens. These are big money days. Are you cut out for it? Are you motivated? Do you have the skill set? Well, you certainly have the skill set if you come from the rideshare industry. There's not much I can teach you if you already have the rideshare skill set. Now it's about working smart. How do I become a private driver? What are the best marketing techniques to get private clients? We teach you all of that in a very long and detailed module in the private chauffeur course. Probably the best module. It's worth it $69 on its own, because what you learn marketing wise, you can apply to any business out there. There's an overwhelming amount of information in the marketing module. I come from the marketing world. I did my master's in marketing. I bring in the social media aspect into it. How can you use social media to get your clients? How do you use Uber and Lyft to get your private clients? How do you do soft sales in the car? How do you get referrals? How do you give incentives or discounts? How do you price your trips? Everything. We don't leave any stone unturned. We cover everything in the course for $69. And again, if you are listening in and then this feed, and you're getting the code HELP20 from me today, HELP, like HELP20, you get another 20% off, which drops the price down to $55. Included in that $55 is a one-on-one conversation with me where we go over the points that you don't understand, right? If you're watching a 300-minute course on how to become a private driver and how to build out your fleet, there will always be questions. Hey, explain this. Hey, explain that. That's what we do in that 30-minute phone call. I have several of those phone calls lined up later on tonight and tomorrow. I always set aside time to speak to those students who have finished the course. So we have 57 people in the house. Please smash the like button. It looks like this. We're on 33. I'd like to try and get it up to at least 40, 50 likes. I hope that these last 45 minutes have been helpful. If you have any specific questions, please leave them in the comment box below. Oh, by the way, is this an option, or will this work, or I have this car, if I did this as a next step, do you think that's advisable? I have been approached with any and every type of question you can possibly think of in this business, as far as transitioning from rideshare driver to private driver, to starting your own fleet, to starting your own limousine company, right? A limousine company, I would say you got to have a lot of know-how. You really have to know how to schedule trips and schedule drivers. You really have to know how to price trips very quickly, because people are shopping around, right? And running this as a limousine company, which I would say step 4, the top of the ladder, is way more time intensive than becoming a fleet operator. A fleet operator, you can have a certain amount of cars and kick back and enjoy your return on investment. But if you really want to mix it up like I do, I love these relationships that I have with rock stars, with rappers, with NBA players, with football stars, with CEOs, with actors, with actresses, you know, with families, with millionaires, billionaires, you name it, right? By the way, shout out to my client, Jamie Fox. Very worried. He's still, I believe, in hospital in Georgia. I wish you a speedy recovery, sir. I hope you're doing well. I lost a good friend, the drummer of Foo Fighters, who I met as a client, who became a very good friend. That's the other thing. The doors that open up as a private driver, don't even get me started. The amount of opportunities and other things that open up. I was talking to Thomas about that, the relationships, the friendships that you build over the years, you know, from having a private client to becoming friends. Unbelievable. Going to concerts, to sports games, to you name it. Incredible opportunities. I'm going on a big fishing trip to Mexico. Well, through what used to be a client, now a friend, right? So never say never. This is a whole new world I will expose you to. I will show you how to get the A-listers. If you are a person that can talk, if you like networking, you can have absolutely anyone and everyone in your car. No limits. There's no limits who could be in the back of your car, right? So think big, open up your mind, you know, to bigger and better things. The risk is not that great. It's not that big. The biggest cost factor here being insurance, commercial insurance, but the formula you will learn at Gig Rocket in the private chauffeur course. And I'm on 45 likes. I love it. I just want to get to 50. 50 por favor. 50 bitte. 50 alsjeblieft. Get me to the 50 mark and I'll be happy. 5 more. So to the 37 people watching, thank you for being here. I will go through your questions and comments after the video. Right now I'm driving to LAX to get the next private client, to make money, right? That's what motivates me, is the cash, the relationships, the friendships. It's not just the cash, my friends. It's not just the money that motivates me. I'm definitely very motivated by money, right? I look at every opportunity I can to make money. But the bigger picture here is just way bigger than money. It's these amazing friendships. Good Carol in the house. Shout out. High five. Great success. So, you know, that's probably the most beautiful part of my job, is the people that I've met, that I get invited to parties, Halloween parties, on holidays, to go fishing with them, to go to sports games with them. Never ends. But I treat all like humans. I don't glorify them. I don't put them on a pedestal. I don't talk about their industry. If I'm with a basketball player, I'm not talking basketball. If I'm with a movie actor, I'm not talking about the movies. I'll talk about everything else. If I'm with an investment banker, I'm not talking money. I'll talk about family. I'll talk about, you know, the joys and pains of life. These people want to be able to switch off, these successful people. It's almost like having a driving therapist on board, right? Where they can share their stories. The sun's shining in here. So yeah, you almost become like a psychologist to them, like a friend, like a therapist. Many of them confide, many of them share. Whatever they share is confidential, right? We teach you everything in this course, how to become a pro at this. So I hope to see you go from rideshare to becoming a private driver. Thomas and Paul, I just met them in San Diego right now. I was with them. Built out a great business, a great business with a lot of private clients. Like I said, my private client count at the moment is just over 350 people, or you call them people or families, whatever you want to call them, or professionals that I have recruited over an 8-year period. right? And that 8-year period is condensed into this course, because I took it beyond rideshare. I wanted to learn everything about rideshare. I wanted to learn everything about X. I wanted to learn everything about Excel. I wanted to learn everything about SUV, about comfort, about black, about every single category business. I wanted to know the fleet business inside out. I met with other fleet owners. I peppered them with questions. I said, I can do this. This is not complicated. I can do this. All the tools are there. All you have to do is grab the tools and go to work. Seriously, all you have to do is grab those fleet tools and go to work. And the biggest sacrifice you're making is maybe financing or buying an SUV, a 7 or 8 seater or a 6 seater, right? That's going to be your biggest investment. Second biggest commitment is going to be your commercial insurance every month. That is expensive, I warn you. But if you stick to the course, if you stick to the formula, the marketing formula, if you know how to get referrals, how to sell yourself, you're halfway there. 44 people in the house. Want to get to 50 likes? Smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen. Any specific questions that you have about this industry, becoming a private driver or a fleet owner, please write below. I want to get back to you. I want to answer your questions. If you take the course, we then spend another 30 minutes one-on-one, right? And those 30-minute conversations I enjoy the most, because I can really vibe you out. I can feel you out where you are. I can note where there's a little bit of resistance, or where you're hesitant, where you may be a little bit afraid, where I can help you. All of that comes out in that 30-minute conversation. You should. Somebody just said, I want to start my own. You can. You can and you will. You can and you will, right? And probably one of the best testimonials I've ever got, you see him dropping in from time to time, is Thomas Gibson, who literally went from rideshare driver to the next category to private driver to, you know, and now has a group of drivers that he works with. So it's 6:40. My coffee shop closes at 7. I should make it. Been a long day. CT in the house. Thank you, Michael. Shout out. So I got a bit of a better picture now. The sun's not in my eyes. So if there's anybody there I can give a shout out, please mention your name. I want to give you a shout out and your city. Scott Tucker's in the house. How are you, my friend? He says, how is everyone? Mention your name, what city you're from, and let me give you a shout out. The sun is finally going down, so now I can see the screen. That's me blabbing away 55 minutes, right, about private driver, fleets, etc. Now I would like to talk to some of the 41 people in the house. We're on 52 likes, by the way. Thank you for helping me reach that goal. Hello from Toronto. We got Anthony in the house. Shout out to Anthony and your family. Orlando, Florida in the house. HBCU Band Talk. Welcome you. Willie Gibbs, New York City in the house. Shout out to you and your family. Much love from Cali. Chi-Town, Carol's from Chicago. Shout out, Carol. Much love from Cali. Who else do we have? Who else do we have? Say my name, say my name. Hello from South Bend, Indiana in the house. Robinson, J.R. Roberts, Junior Robertson in the house. Did I say that right? Hopefully I said that right. Scott Tucker, Austin, heading back to Vegas. We got Brian in the house from Indianapolis in the house. I love it. Indianapolis in the house. Shout out to everyone in the house. Got 54 likes. Thank you. And I'm almost at LAX. Thank you. I was feeling a little tired there, you know, when I was driving Lyft before my accident. South Bend, Charlotte, North Carolina in the house. Got Kareem. Got Scott Robinson in the house. Almost at LAX. Thank you for helping me get to LAX. It's been a long day, all the way down to San Diego, all the way back. But I'm not complaining, the money is good. Nice guy, driver in Connecticut, in the house. William is in the house. William, you and the fam, shout out. Got it right back, first try, I love it. My Laura is on tour with a few celebs. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you also have a Laura. I also have a Laura. 41 people in the house. Now the sun's shining back in my eyes now. The sun always shines on TV. Touch me. La da 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 da. Good old 80s. Good old 80s. Who knows the 80s? Who loved the 80s? I do. 80s music fan. DUA is gone. Good. I'm hitting some serious traffic here. Where am I? Where am I? Serious traffic. Austin, Texas in the house. All praises. Thank you. I appreciate you. A little bit of a glare here. I'm trying to see the screen. 55 people in the house. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Dua Lipa. Oh, okay. Dua Lipa. Cool. Private run Chicago to Michigan. 1,600 cash. Oh my God. I salute you. 1,600. Have I made 1,600 on one trip? Yeah, a few times. Emergency trip to Vegas. I got 1,600. I made 2,000 once to get people to a private plane in Vegas. And then I think my biggest money day was from, and I did a live feed on this, made over $3,000 was from here to Berkeley. I had to get some equipment, emergency trip. They couldn't get it on the plane, and they needed the equipment in Berkeley at 4 a.m. and off I went, but they paid big time, over $3,000. I remember that trip very, very well. I did a live feed. My biggest tip today from Dwayne Wade, $800. Dwayne Wade, my best tipper so far, $800 tip from D Wade. Great dad, by the way. But hey, join the private driver world. Let me show you how it's done. You can have anyone in your car, my friends. Anyone. I remember driving the guy from Batman, what's his name, the actor, and 3 or 4 of his hot little girls from party to party. I've had many crazy nights with many crazy nights. That's in one day, $3,000, one day, one trip. But I've had many crazy nights as a private driver with private clientele. It can get out of control, just like it can get out of control if you're driving 5, 6 college students in an XL vehicle, in a minivan. It can get out of control. Ask Paul Figueroa. We were sharing some of our horror stories today. Paul, you can relate to this, right? He was telling us his horror stories as an XL driver, driving down in Pacific Beach, that area in San Diego, all college students. Where am I? Where am I here? I'm in Torrance, South Bay, Del Amo, Hermosa. Mosa made and Lyft is $1,300. Salute, that's excellent money, my friend. Excellent. Money isn't funny in the rideshare world. All the things I could do if Dara paid me some money, and Logan Green too. Lyft and Uber, show us the money, as Sergio says, show us the money. Uber and Lyft, show us the money. New CEO David Risher, show us the money. Show us the money. We want to see the money. I'm on 57. God, what's his name? Give me a couple of names of Batman. I'm very bad with names. Famous actor, been in a lot of movies. Help me out. Was not was not, what's his name? I've driven him before. Was not the guy that's married to Jennifer Lopez. Not him. The other guy. No, not Adam West. Throw the names. Christian Bale. That's it. Christian Bale. Thank you. Amen. Christian Bale. I had Christian Bale in the car for several hours, going Hollywood party to Hollywood party with his girls. He had 3 sexy girls in the car, and we were partying it up, the 4 of us. Him, his 3 girls, and myself, 4 of us. It was one of the funnest nights as a private driver. It was fun. And Christian Bale asked me, he wanted me to teach him in the car how to become a rideshare driver. It was so funny. I mean, there's questions. Okay, so what do I do on the app? How does this work? I had to explain he was not like, he said, I want to just be on the platform as a rideshare driver for a few hours and do this once. How do I do this? It's quite funny. Good. Yeah, and again, somebody just mentioned the deactivated to reactivated. Uber and Lyft at record pace are deactivating drivers. I don't know why. I've never seen so many deactivations. And we have a 3-step process how to fight back. In many cases, we even get money. Last week, the guy was over the moon. He got 12 grand from Lyft. 2 grand, 5 grand, 10 grand, 12 grand is the most I got for deactivation. But, whatever it takes, we will hold them responsible, get you back on the platform. Sometimes you got to fight a little harder. El Segundo Boulevard, Rosecrans, anybody know that? I'm deep in the South Bay here. Sun's going down. Coming up soon to the 105 West. 105 West takes me down to LAX. I'm going to drop in for a coffee, and then I'm going to pick up Pierce. 59, uno por favor, 1 please. Pricing's a good question. The pricing, this is how you get the client. With the pricing, for example, I could show the client or the Uber rider that he would have paid $773, for example, from San Diego to LA or LA to San Diego. And when they see that $773 on the screen, and I said I can do the same thing for $500, that's $270 savings, and $500 is a lot of money. So you can imagine how Uber and Lyft are bending them over, big time. I mean, even private wealthy clients, they are not happy. They are not happy with the way they are being overcharged by Uber and Lyft. And I spoke to Thomas Gibson. It's made our work 10 times easier, ladies and gentlemen, as a private driver. Uber and Lyft jacking up these rates by 40-50%. Even in the upper echelon, in the SUVs and Lux, you know how expensive that is, right? They don't want to pay $280 from Calabasas to LAX. I can do that same trip for $200 and save them $80. So pricing is muy importante, sehr wichtig, very important. How you price yourself. You don't overprice, you don't underprice, you don't want to lose the business. You want to stay competitive, but you also want to make money, right? And then depending on, like right now, depending on what car I'm in, am I in the Tesla electrical charge? Am I on a hybrid getting 36 miles per gallon? Am I in the expensive Cadillac getting 16 miles per gallon? So you've got to take everything into consideration. Who am I going to have in my car? An actor, a CEO, a rapper? Or am I going to have a family? Can I do the family with a Sienna? Or do I have a small couple, like a husband-wife going out to dinner? I can do that in the Tesla. So I really need to know, okay, what do I have in front of me? How many hours? How long is the trip? Am I driving them there, driving them back? And am I waiting for them at the concert or at the sports game? Am I going in my Tesla? Am I going in my Sienna? Am I going in my Cadillac? I discuss pricing in great length. It's one of the most important parts of the puzzle to become a successful private driver, is pricing. Ben Affleck, yes, driven him once in Brentwood. Only once off. Once off. I drove him and a guy called Christian and a guy called Hans Gudegas, the guy from, I think, the Bold and the Beautiful or something. You can look at it on CNN. He has cancer. He's 80. He's 80 something. 3 of them from Brentwood to Pacific Palisades. I remember that very, very clearly. So I wish you all, help me get to 60. Uno por favor, one more like please. Help me get to 60, anyone? Smash the like button. I will end the stream on 60. Carol's in the house. Mel Gibson. Yep. Mel Gibson always hangs out at Moonlight Shadows. So if you want to pick up Mel Gibson after a couple of drinks, just hang out at Moonlight Shadows in Malibu. That's his drinking hole. He's always there. Got to know where these people hang out. Where do they drink? Where do they go for dinner? Are they at Nobu? Nobu's a great place to recruit A-list clients. Great. Just sit there. Sit there in your Uber SUV at the McDonald's on PCH. Guaranteed. You do that 1 week, you'll have 1 celebrity in your car. Now's your chance to sell yourself to that 1 celebrity. Then you already have 1 celebrity in your portfolio. And that just comes from 1 or 2 weeks sitting at Nobu every night. I will guarantee you will leave with some big name. Wayne Gretzky at the one time, the hockey player, Nobu. I've picked up so many people at Nobu and converted them into private clients, right? A-list restaurants. A-list hotels, the most expensive hotels, Ritz-Carlton, Montage. These are the places where you get these type of clients, right? In any big city. I'm right here, my friends. This is my biggest money maker here. There it is, right there. LAX. LAX. That's my biggest money. Over 90% of my trips are back and forth from Los Angeles International Airports. I should tell you how to handle airports in the course, how to handle private airports, how to handle restaurants, how to handle hotels, how to network at restaurants, how to network at hotels. Everything's covered in the course. But 62, I love you all. You guys help me get to 60. I owe you big time. I will answer the questions. Shout out to everyone. Much love from me, from LAX. I wish you nothing but a beautiful evening and safety. I wish you all safety. Without safety, safety first, my friends, right? It's all about safety. Keep yourself safe so that you're there for your family, right? So it's all about safety. Safety comes first before the money. So please, windows locked, doors locked, pepper spray, whatever it takes. Please keep yourself. I'm driving through a tunnel. Pretty cool visual here through this dark tunnel. Fright first, zombies through the tunnel. Got to get a little bit crazy. I need my coffee. I need my coffee. I'm on my way. I'm about 3 minutes away from my coffee, but they close at 7, so I better hustle. Love you all, guys. Thank you. Until soon. Sign up for the private chauffeur course. Code HELP20, HELP20, and start making money today. Thank you.